If you are so smart, then why aren't you happy? If you are so smart, then why can't you get what you want from life? In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to be happier and more positive, and the idea for this video was actually from a blog post that I wrote, and the idea from the blog post that I wrote is an idea that I stole from Naval Ravikant, who is one of my favorite people on planet Earth when it comes to thinking. And one of the things that he said was that he judges your intelligence based on your ability to get what you want, based on your ability to control your mental state. So if you have all this brain power, if you're so smart, how come you can't figure out how to get what you want, or how to be content, or how to deal with your life? You have one person to take care of, and that is you. If you are so smart, why aren't you yet doing a good job at taking care of yourself? So I bring up this idea of why aren't you able to do something when you're quote unquote so smart, is because we all have this kind of simultaneous belief about ourselves where everyone thinks they're above average intelligence level, even though that's impossible. So on one hand, we kind of look at ourselves like we're intelligent, like we're above average, but then we have these anxieties, we have these self-doubts, we have these areas in our life where we fall short of our potential, and we kind of feel like if we could just string things together, then maybe we could get what we want, maybe we could be happier, maybe we could be more positive, but sometimes these things just don't add up. And one thing that does happen to intelligent people is, some of the most unsuccessful, negative, and filled with outrage people are intelligent people, because they use their reasoning capabilities to fill that void in their life with negativity. So they have a bunch of reasons why they shouldn't be happy. So they have all these explanations that justify and create self-fulfilling prophecies and all that. So we're going to dive into some key insights on how you can be happier, more positive, more upbeat, get some of the things you want out of life. We're going to talk about that today, But before we dive into that, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so you can get brand new videos when they come out. That notification bell is very important because it's going to help you continue along on this journey of self-improvement where we can focus on living better lives. Clearly, I'm not going to give you a bunch of prescriptions that are going to help you just become magically happy overnight. Happiness is a definition that changes based on who you ask. Your level of happiness, contentment, your level of purpose and meaning, that's going to change based on your taste, preferences, strengths, all that stuff. I don't know you. So I can't quote unquote give you this blueprint where if you do exactly X, Y, and Z, you're going to end up happy. But what I can do is basically just point out some general patterns that I've learned in my own life, that I've seen other people be successful with, that will help you live a happier life, that'll help you live a more positive life, right? The goal isn't to be happy and sunshine and roses all the time and never have any issues in your mind, no problems, no anxieties. Like, of course, I have tons of problems, tons of anxieties, tons of issues, as any other human being does. But what I'm talking about is just kind of raising your base level of satisfaction with yourself and with your life. And you can do that through a variety of means, whether it's achievement or whether it's learning how to be content, but there's still a process that you have to follow. So here's some of my tips that you can use to move in a general direction of happiness. One insight that really stood out to me when I was reading a lot of books about Stoic philosophy, I was reading people like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, of course, Ryan Holiday, who has popularized the idea of Stoicism. One of the things that I learned from them is this concept of practical philosophy. And the way that practical philosophy works, or the assumption that it's based on, is this idea that you have to learn how to live. And it seems kind of a simple sentence, but that really hit me. You have to learn how to live. And I think a lot of people get into trouble because they think life is something that is just supposed to unfold. And if they're not happy, they're unhappy because, life itself just didn't unfold the way that I wanted to, so I'm unhappy, when they forgot that life is a process where you need to learn how to live. There is no perfect answer to everything, but obviously you can tell through things like philosophy, through things like self-improvement. There are clearly general observable patterns that if you followed, they would probably raise your base level of happiness, right? But most people, they lack the humility in order to be able to do that. See, a lot of people look at people who want to be successful or who want to achieve goals of delayed gratification or work towards their happiness and peace and see that as a goal. They're looked at as the ones who are arrogant, but really the people who shrink and stay inside of their shells and live below their potential, they're the ones who are arrogant because they don't have the humility to admit to themselves like, hey, maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe I have screwed up. Maybe I should seek guidance. Maybe I should ask for help. Maybe I don't have everything figured out. And obviously, because you're here, you understand that to a degree, and all humans understand that to a degree, but too many of us fail to bring that to our conscious level of awareness, that we have to learn how to live. And you see this manifested in so many different negative ways where people just expect life to be a certain way, and when it's not, they get upset. So kind of bridging from this idea of learning how to live is also the idea that ultimately your happiness is your responsibility, right? You can blame other people all you want. You can blame the government. You can blame society. You can blame your friends and family. You can blame your parents for the circumstances of your life. You can construct this elaborate narrative, this house of cards, this fragile sense of self that you have built based on negativity, rejection, and all of these other maladies, right? You could do that, but still, the only person who is going to be capable of changing your mind and making yourself happy is you. So even if something changes in your life, right? So circumstances might change in your life. Let's say that a savior did come to save you and it did make you happier. Well, guess what? You interpreted that level of happiness. The situation changed, so you changed your mind. But you can also do things in the reverse. You can change your mind so you can change your situation. So years back when I was broke, when I had no money, when I was working at a shit job, when I was a college dropout, when I was arrested for selling drugs, when I was doing drugs and alcohol, when I was out of shape, no mental clarity, everything going wrong in my life, I realized that there was nobody who was going to undo that situation and make myself feel better other than me, right? And I also couldn't just like magically conjure up this feeling of happiness. You know, a lot of people, they talk about this idea of Eastern philosophy, which I am a proponent of. Like, I do meditate every day. I do yoga. I have read spiritual books. I get that aspect of being content with oneself to a degree, but when you are a human who, you have biological needs, you have kind of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you live in a material world, you are wired to view yourself through the lens of social status, so you have these real life tangible forces to deal with, and yes, you should be content just because you're here, just because you have the chance to be alive, but let's not kid ourselves and act like going through some of those milestones, going up that hierarchy doesn't help raise your baseline level of happiness. Of course it does. And maybe it makes you happier just through the process of like removing all the bad things from your life, right? So making more money doesn't make you happier, but not being broke anymore makes you happier. Getting a lot of status doesn't make you happier, but doing the things and experiencing the growth that other people look at and admire makes you happier. Going through any process doesn't really make you happier per se, but you look at yourself and you're kind of proud of yourself for going through the process, which leads me to my last point. The process of kind of going through this arc of self-improvement where I talk about where you're struggling, then one day you hit a crescendo, and then what'll also happen is after you get what you want, you'll realize that it didn't make you happy. When you make more money, you'll realize that money isn't the answer. When you get in amazing shape, you realize getting in amazing shape wasn't the answer to your self-image. When you do get a bunch of attention, when you do go through and check all the worldly checkpoints and milestones, you will realize that they do not provide the answer to happiness. but you'll be much more likely to come to that realization after you go through the process. Until you kind of go out and see for yourself, you're always going to wonder what if. You're always going to wonder what it would feel like to reach that next level. So when you do reach a new level in your life and you do realize success doesn't cure you, it doesn't make you happy, but what you do have that full perspective of the world now. And it doesn't just lead to you, being apathetic and not trying anything. You still go through the process, but the next time you go through a process, the next time you try to start a business, the next time you go through a challenge, you do it for the sake of doing it. And yes, you enjoy some material reward, status, things like that. But ultimately, you end up learning that the reward is just going through the process of growth itself. And, you're living in this material world. So obviously, you're going to have byproducts like money, status, success, whatever you call it, right? So in many ways, kind of going through this worldly chain of going up through, the hierarchy of needs does lead to self-actualization. That's why in the hierarchy in Maslow's, he says first, you got to get food. You got to get shelter. You got to get safety. You got to have community. You got to go up and then you reach self-actualization. So it's really hard to get all the way to the top self-actualization when you aren't meeting your needs, when you aren't taking care of yourself, when you're not safe, when you don't have the respect of your community, when you don't have that tribe, right? So you have to go up those levels. And then, the journey will lead you back to the origin point, which is that you should just be happier and more positive because you're here on this earth and you get to play the game of life. And that's kind of the thing that I like about this concept of learning how to live and kind of just treating your life like a game. It's just fun to play. It's just fun to see if you can do it. And I really want you to experience what it feels like on the other side of looking back and just being like, gosh, I can't believe I did that. And, that is something that does provide true happiness. So keep these rules in mind and, take the cynicism out of your mind, right? If you're so smart, figure out how to be happy. If you're so smart, figure out how to get what you want. If you're so smart, figure out how to navigate life. If you're looking for a great guide to help you navigate life, you can check this out. It's called Real Help, an Honest Guide to Self-Improvement, kind of no holds barred field guide to living in our current day and age. Make sure to check that out. If you're on YouTube, it's in the description. If you're on other platforms, Instagram, it'll be linked in bio. LinkedIn, it'll be linked in the post. You can find that link and buy that book. Google it. Do whatever you have to do. Buy Real Help today. Also, make sure to check all of the resources below in the description. I have free checklists that'll teach you how to build profitable skills. I have links to all my other social media channels, a ton of good stuff in there. Make sure to check that out. Make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, like the video, leave your 2 cents, leave a comment below so I can come up with ideas for new videos. There should be some videos popping up in front of your face right now. Make sure to check those out, and I will see you on the next video.